Hello everybody and welcome to the Celtic Unrestricted View podcast. My name is Ryan Clifford and joining me this guest episode is JP. And joining us, JP, is Daniel Krisroffersson, Swedish sports journalist, football journalist. I think he's based in Stockholm. I'm sure that's right, Daniel.
Yes.
We'll look forward to this one, JP. Obviously, there's big potential rumours about Sead Haskabanovic joining Celtic from Rubin Kazan. Obviously, according to Daniel, was one of the first players to report it. It's just about done. Medical is supposedly underwell going. So I'm looking forward to know more about the player, JP.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be good. Yeah, Daniel's the first person I thought to reach out to get him on and have a chat. Who better than the man himself that unveiled the story to begin with? Big surprise because I'll be honest, at the time I hadn't heard of the kid. I know he's only 23, fits really well in the profile of our current manager just now, Daniel, Ange Postecoglou. We call that a typical Ange Postecoglou signing. So it's going to be very interesting to find out what type of player he is and what you potentially think he could bring to the hoops. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. If you want to just kick off, mate, and you can let us know a bit about yourself, what you're doing at the moment, and then obviously we'll go on to Sead.
Yes. The thing that I when I first heard about it, it was like 3 weeks ago. Sead Haskabanovic, I know Celtic tried to bought him out from Rubin Kazan. It has been talks with other clubs, I know, but Rubin Kazan is in a very bad position regarding the economy and financial, so they want some money for him, but they haven't got any potential clubs who wants to pay the money. So the deal was off like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and on last Monday he was supposed to train with Djurgården again. The club that he was loaned from Rubin Kazan, and he has a very just to start to get fit and stuff like that. It was nothing clear, but then they've heard and I've heard that he said I can't train with you start on Monday because Celtics are in the race again. And now the negotiations has been ongoing for a week now, and I know that he wants to go to Celtic. He wants to play the chance to play in the Champions League. He wants the chance to win titles. So as I said last week, I think it would be very surprising if it's not officially. The deal will be done in a couple of days. I heard also that he is in Glasgow or now.
Okay, so things have moved pretty fast with it then, Daniel, from Sweden to now over.
Yeah.
And the player himself, do you reckon that's been a big pull straight away as soon as you heard Celtic over Djurgården?
Yeah, but that's in Djurgården when he came to Allsvenskan at first, when they loaned him from Rubin Kazan, everyone was very surprised. Here, because he's too good for Allsvenskan, he's too good for Swedish football, and also he had played with IFK Norrköping. So if there was a possibility that he should been loaned out, everyone thought, okay, he will go to IFK Norrköping. But then he has very good relationship with the sporting director Bosse Andersson in Djurgården. And Djurgården is a bigger club regarding to fans and stuff like that. You can't compare to Celtic supporter or the Celtic atmosphere, but it's pretty much one of the biggest club in Sweden, Djurgården, and he made a fantastic year and had a great loan spell. He did very well, and I'm seeing like Celtic is like a match made in heaven for Sead Haskabanovic. I think it's not too big step as maybe the Premier League. He went to West Ham when he was young, from Halmstad in a smaller club in Sweden. That was a way too far step for him. But then he has developed, and I think Celtic will be a great move for him. I know that he has been pushing for this move, and he wants to go there. The chance to win titles, as I said, and the chance to play in the Champions League would be a great opportunity for him. Also, in maybe, Celtic will have this deal with if it goes through, there will be a bargain for Celtic. It will be a cheap for a cheap price. Even if it's a loan deal with a buy option, it will be much cheaper than £6 million that it has been rumored about for some couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I think he's pushing for a move and has been pushing for a move for some weeks.
Okay. It's interesting that Daniel says that, Ryan, isn't it? The fact that there was interest. We heard over in Glasgow that there was interest at the beginning of that window, beginning of the summer window, sorry, when the players kind of started coming back to pre-season. And then it was very quickly, the interest sort of, we'd moved on and we'd made other signings. And then obviously, as Daniel says there, that it's a massive pull for the player. It just goes to show you that when you do recruitment and you do it properly, players do want to come here. They want to come and experience and sample the atmosphere at Celtic Park. Obviously, the Champions League is going to be a big pull for Sead himself. I just found that very interesting, that the fact that there was interest to begin with, and now obviously the interest has now came back after going away and then coming back.
I think it's all when these things, obviously some people don't always know about recruitment. When you start with assigning interest, I don't think it ever goes away maybe until the windows ends. I don't think it goes away. I think they're always in the back burner somehow. So obviously players get a list, and if they can't get the first person at the second, third, fourth, that's kind of probably the way it goes recruitment wise. But I think he's maybe always been on the list. I don't know that if that's the case, Daniel, but I'm guessing the fact Celtic came back in, they've maybe always kept an eye on it, and they've been seeing how if players leave Celtic, there's rumours about Ayeti leaving, James Forrest, there was rumours before he signed a new deal if he was going to stay, Mikey Johnson. So Celtic have to weigh up their options. Do we need to let guys go first before we bring any players in? But it seems it is, you have reported, Daniel, that Celtic have had an eye on him just about the full summer.
Well, what did you say? Celtic has?
They've had an eye on him basically the full summer, just about.
Yeah. I think so too. And but what is the latest in Scotland now that he has come out with him? Is it that it should be a medical or something?
I think so. But they said supposedly he was in London for a medical, and he's been in Glasgow. But that's all we've heard. We've just been told it's imminent. We've not been told a time frame or roughly.
Last night, something broke on Twitter, and it says that it was going to be a deal to take him on loan, but it has an obligation to purchase him at the end of the loan. So basically, what happens is he becomes just. We've got a player in our team just now, Daisen Maeda from Japan.
Yeah.
And Daisen came in January on loan from Yokohama Marinos. And what happened with that was Daisen just automatically became a Celtic player in the summer window. The feeling I'm getting from the information we had last night is that's going to happen with Sead as well. What about over at Hughes? What's been said?
Yeah. The best thing for him should be to get a 3 or 4 or 5 year contract that he can settle down and have some calm in his career, because it has been on loan spells. It has been West Ham, Malaga, Djurgården, Norrköping. But the problem is with the Russians. Now Scotland isn't in the European Union, but we here in Sweden cannot do affairs with the Russian clubs. So it have been pretty messy. So maybe they're doing to get around the system, maybe a loan deal, and then it goes to in the summer. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I should be very surprised if he doesn't be a Celtic player this week.
Okay, so the type of player that he is, Daniel, obviously Celtic play a very attacking brand of football. They like to play on the front foot. They play a high press. They play, they've got speed and energy just a bit all over the park. Every player's very comfortable on the ball. Is that going to suit him as a player? Do you think it's going to take him long to settle with the squad, or do you think he's a potential player that could hit the ground running for us?
Yeah, that's like exactly how Djurgården plays also now. Yesterday, now it's Haksabanovic is not in the team, but yesterday Djurgården got through to the Europa Conference League group stages. They managed to get through against Apoel. And if you have looked at Djurgården, where Sead Haskabanovic played last time, they play exactly like that: high pressure, high pressing, offensive football. a very entertaining football to look at, very offensive. The players should be very strong with the physics. And the good thing with Sead Haskabanovic is he is all that, and also he is a little bit very technical. He has a winger who can play in the central, coming starting from the left or the right and go in central. So I compared him a little bit the last time with Eden Hazard when he was at his best. Not as good as Eden Hazard, but that type of player who can go through his guys and good technique. So, and also Sead has a great mentality. He is a team player, always working hard. And if you look at the players, Swedish players in Celtic have had before, it's not like the Johan Mjällby mentality, because he is exceptional with the tackling and the strength and the physics, but he have pretty much not that mentality, but close to. He believes in himself, has a good self-confidence, but he's a team player. We're always working hard for the team. So it should be, if the deal goes through, it should be very interesting to follow his career in the Celtic, and I think it will be a good match.
And just as you said there, Eden Hazard, I just seen Ryan's face lighting up there, Daniel. I have to say, yeah. I think he was
no pressure.
That's a big tag you've put on a early doors, Daniel.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting, Ryan, as Daniel says. Obviously, he's a very technical player. He sounds like a flair player, like a baller.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's going to bode well, especially with the way Ange likes to play in and out of triangles, and the fact that he's a team player. There is a certain character, Daniel, that Ange profiles for our squad, and it has to be the right match. He won't bring somebody in who maybe is egotistic, or it's all about him, or it's got to, first and foremost, I think you've got to be a team player. Then obviously you need to have ability to come and play for the Celtic support. And Ange has done really, really well up till now in recruitment. And I think that's really important as well, Ryan, as Daniel says, that he's a team player, mate.
I think in terms of Celtic, I would say so, mate, yeah. The way Ange has got his playing, everybody's fighting for the jersey. The camaraderie is amazing. Everybody's in it together, and the team spirit's there. And obviously, but it sounds it, he'll add to that. He'll add to the squad and the technical ability of the squad, and as well the mentality of the squad. The team is a winner. The team's full of winners and managers, and for me, Daniel, I don't know if you know much about Ange yourself, but I believe Ange is an elite coach. Maybe no to a lot of people in stature it might not be, but just in terms of the way I've seen him at Celtic, his previous jobs and what he's done, I think I don't want to say he's underrated in Europe, but I believe that a lot of people are taking note of him more now because he's at Celtic and what he can bring. But for me, that's what I think, Daniel. I don't know if you know about Ange as well. But the way he's signing players, and obviously now the way he is at Celtic, I don't know if you feel that he's maybe underrated as a coach as well.
Yeah, I haven't got the so much information about the new coach in Celtic, but what I have heard, he's also looking for that. He's very systematical how he recruit players, and if you look at how Djurgården has recruited his Sead Haskabanovic former club, so they are famous in Sweden because they don't go to the best individuality. They go to, of course, individual quality. They go to technical players. But their success over the last years, they won the league 2019. They got into the Europa Conference group stages now, and they have built a team that the team spirit, mentality of the players is the most important. And also Djurgården is not paying the biggest salaries in Sweden. They're like fourth in the league if you look at the expenses on salaries and sign-on bonuses and stuff like that. So they have the mentality that the players who is there, they should want to play for Djurgården rather than play for money. So that's go well with maybe the Celtic way to build a team with team players and mentality.
There's obviously a lot of people will look at his West Ham career, Daniel, and think, oh, he failed and he's only young.
Yeah.
He's went to West Ham, will he come to Celtic? But like you says, he was only a young kid at the time. It was a big step. People need to realise he's only young, but now he's a few years older. He's gained more experience. And by the seems it, he's not at his peak yet, but Celtic could be getting him at the right time.
Yeah, of course. When he went to West Ham, he was regarded like the second biggest talent in Sweden after Alexander Isak. And Alexander Isak was the record fee when he went from AIK to Dortmund, and now he plays for Real Sociedad. Have had a massive career. He's the top number one attacker in the national team. So Sead he was ranked very high, and then I think he's been more mature now. He maybe West Ham was too big step for him, and that it didn't work out. But if you look at what West Ham had players then, they bought Marko Arnautovic for like 30 million pounds, and they had a very good season then. I think they were fighting for the top places in the Premier League then. So maybe it was the wrong time to go to West Ham. But I think now he wants to, as I said before, win titles and play in the Champions League with Celtic. But also I think it will be a bargain, a good for Celtic, because they get him for a low price, and then they could, if he does well in the Champions League and in the league, I think they in 2 or 3 years, maybe even 1.5 years, he can go to a much bigger league and Celtic can earn a big money for him. So I think it's the right time for him to go to Celtic now.
I think JP as well, what Daniel says there about the Champions League. Obviously, we know Celtic are in the group stages. It's a big pool for players. Obviously, a lot of players don't really come to play in Scotland. They come to play for Celtic and obviously the club in European football, which obviously it's the first time I've been in that in a while right away. So again, for me, the fact that he's mentioned Celtic, the Champions League, it just shows you that to a lot of people outside of Scotland, it might not be a big pool, Celtic, but in terms of the playing in Europe, and he's going to get at least guaranteed 6 blockbuster games, he's put himself in a shop window for other targets in the future and his national squad as well.
Yeah, definitely, Ryan. As I say, he's a young player. It sounds like as what Daniel was saying there, he's had a lot of early promise, so he's kind of exploded onto the scene. And then obviously, I don't judge players on when you judge players over a period of time at a club. You don't judge them on an immediate reaction and how they start. We know that. I mean, look at Anthony Ralston. He's a perfect example. He's several loan deals away for the club. We were writing his obituary last year. The boys, like, he's turned into Cafu under Ange. Like, that's the kind of the total mentality shift of the lot. And Sead sounds like he's kind of exploded onto the scene. And then, Daniel, am I right in saying that he's a Swedish nationality, but he's chose to play for Montenegro?
Yeah, it's a Montenegro nationality too, and that was the case. It was a big blow for Swedish football when Sead Haskabanovic chose to play for Montenegro instead of Sweden. And I know that he is the big example for the Swedish FA that they made wrong, because they hadn't have any talks and any dialogue with the players, because in Sweden now it's they have much player coming up that can play for maybe 2 or 3 nationalities. And I know that when Sead Haskabanovic chose to play for Montenegro, it was a big blow for Swedish football. And then the Swedish FA started not an investigation, but they started to change the minds of the people who work for the FA. They were very, after that Sead had left, they were very keen on that the manager of the national team and the assistant manager started to have a relationship even before the players who can play on both nationalities were in the national team. So they started to have a chat with them. They started to speak with them about choosing Sweden instead of the other nationality that they can choose. And I think that has been very good for Swedish football. Not that Swedish Sead Haskabanovic left the Swedish chose Montenegro, but that they was a wake-up call for the FA, that they had to start getting a better relationship with the players who had 2 or 3 nationalities, and that we have seen the result of now, because it's in many players. You see Dejan Kulusevski in Tottenham, for example. He can also play for could play for Macedonia, so he chose to play for Sweden, and it's many other examples of that. So unfortunately Haksabanovic chosen, but it was a wake-up call for Swedish football.
Okay.
I've just had a message here, sorry, cutting JP. A journalist on Twitter who we know, Fraser, he just says that he's told Celtic secured him this morning. Loan obligation to buy from Rubin Kazan. It's not from Celtic, but the journalist is reporting that it's been secured. If that is through JP, then obviously Daniel's supported it, and another journalist confirmed it there. So if that is true,
and it also just confirms what I'd says to Daniel a minute ago then about the loan obligation. The obligation, that's taken for granted. He is a Celtic player now. Because there's a difference between an option to buy, which therefore the club can then refuse at the end of it, but an obligation to buy means it's mandatory. He then becomes a Celtic player after a period of time. But it's the same as Daisen Maeda in January. That's how that works. So he then just ticks another box and he tobies over to being a Celtic player full time, and he'll sign probably potentially a 3-4 year contract. Going with hands, it's usually sometimes it's 5-year contracts he dishes out, so it might be a long term contract the boys got. And it sounds like we've got a good bit of business and obviously a great deal in my hands. I'm looking forward to see what he can bring to the team. But just on his nationality there, Daniel. Obviously, I'm assuming that is through family, then he qualifies to play for Montenegro. But apart from internationally, has he experienced any part of European football before, or has he played with any teams that have been in Europe?
No. He has played the experience he has in European football is with Montenegro, the national team, but no other clubs. He has maybe played some qualification. No, I don't think he even have that. So it will be new for him. But also, if you see the qualification in Montenegro, pretty much the same as they have massive support and they played very good teams. So I think that's nothing to bother about. I think that will be. I think
that's quite interesting, Ryan, as Daniel says, he's not had that experience, because I'm afraid to say that he's in for a severe rude awakening when he sees his first European match at Celtic Park under the lights on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Because I am afraid it is totally night and day from watching Celtic on TV in the Champions League to actually being involved in that stadium. Am I right there, Ryan?
Obviously, we're not players, but as a fan, being involved in being at games like that, it's even though some games you get beat by a cricket score 4 or 5-0 at home, just the atmosphere and before the game it builds up, and I'm probably a bit biased, Daniel, as a Celtic fan, saying that I believe the Celtic atmosphere on Champions League nights is probably the best in the world. It's amazing, just being as a fan. So I can see why as well it's a big pull for some of these players. But for me, I just think it's phenomenal, Daniel, the atmosphere. So do you think that maybe that's something, he's a player that could thrive on that?
Yeah, I think he will be intrigued about that. I think he will be a better player. He likes to play in front of the supporters, and that's why I think he was when he shows to come back to Swedish football. He shows between Norrköping and Djurgården. Norrköping has it's a big club, of course, but has not even near the supporters that the Djurgården had. So I think the supporters and the atmosphere around the club was one of the reasons why he chose to play for Djurgården in the Swedish league. Of course, that's nothing if you go to Celtic Park with a derby against the old firm or a Champions League game with Celtic, when it's you never walk alone and all stuff like that. So of course it will be a change for him, of course, and it will be a challenge. But I think he will like it and love it to play in front of the fans. And I think he is the kind of player, and he has the kind of mentality that he will only get better, and nothing that holds him back.
See the standard like the Rubin Kazan and obviously Swedish football, is Celtic another level above what he's played at before? Do you think, in terms of not really the Scottish League, but in terms of the way Celtic play and the way they want to play and how to progress?
Yeah, I think if you compare Rubin Kazan to Celtic, maybe they're not so they're not so different in what kind of quality, in individual quality, I think, but in kind of club and and that kind of tradition that Celtic have, the kind of passionate supporters. Of course, it's a massive difference, and that of course can be a thing that you have to take in count when you sign for a club. That I've been visit and done interviews with Mikael Lustig when he was in Celtic, and I also have done interviews with Johan Mjällby, and they told me about the club. And of course, it's the rival with the Rangers, and nothing can compare to that. And that the fans, so it will be a whole another pressure to play for Celtic and to play for Rubin Kazan and for Djurgården. Of course, that's you can't compare something like that. So I think that it will be a challenge for him, of course.
I've also looked into, once we were linked to him, like we always do, I look into who the individual is, Daniel. And the wee bit of digging that I've managed to find is he looks as if he's very good at taking the ball under pressure. Now, I think that's very key for the way we need to play. We're going to have to play like that in the Champions League. And he looks like when he's pressured and when somebody high presses him, he's very calm, he's very composed. He's actually quite strong as well. He's not the tallest of guys, but he's quite kind of muscly, stockier built than most. He can hold people off, and I've seen him. He's able to play in tight areas, and I think that's going to be vitally important for us, Ryan. Especially when you've got like a Liverpool or a PSG, and you've got people like Mo Salah closing you down at pace. You're going to have to learn to switch your brain on and play out. You can play through. That's the way Ange is going to want us to play. So I think that's very important for us, Ryan. And I know this kid's got that in his locker because I've seen him do it.
I think for me, the way Celtic are playing, I know a lot of people expect Celtic to be the whipping boys of the group. They'll expect them to be bottom or not get a lot of points. But part of me is a bit scared of getting absolutely took apart because of the way Celtic play. But I think we may spring a surprise because of, like we've said, how fast we are and how quick we are. Some of these teams in Europe, they're very, very good defensively, but they're solid defensively, they're not quick defensively. Like even teams like Juventus, etc., they're very good technically defensively, but sometimes they've not got a lot of pace at the back. And that might be where Daniel would say maybe Haksabanovic might come into that and actually help us to that, because I know you might not be the best defensively in Europe, but I think going forward we will cause a lot of teams a lot of trouble, especially with Haksabanovic in the squad. I don't know if that will help us, Daniel, but how do you think he will add to the way we play?
Yeah, I think he likes to play offensively. He likes to be in a team that plays with high pressure, and also, as you said, he's very good to covering the ball and small areas. So I think that's very, very important if you play with high pressure. But of course, now he hasn't played games for some months and some weeks. So of course it will take him time to adapt to the system and to the league. But I think he is very easy trained. He likes to train. If you speak to his teammates and stuff like that, he is always last from training, starting to practice on set pieces and stuff like that. So I think, of course, it always takes time for a new player to adapt to a new system, new coach, new league, new country. So I think the Celtic supporters should have a little bit patient. Not that he will come in and dribble 10 men in the opponent and score goals directly, but yeah, they have to. But of course, the club and the manager count on that also. They have that in mind when they buy him. But they getting a player with such qualities that they are willing to wait some weeks before he's in perfect shape and that he's ready for playing 90 minutes. But I think that it's no hurry.
There's obviously as well, Daniel, Celtic, we've had Henrik Larsson, Carl Starfelt, you mentioned Miko Lustig, John Degetti. So he's come to Celtic.
Mohamed
Bangura as well.
He's not Swedish, but he come from the
he came from, was it AIK he came from? Is that who it was from? He came from?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can guarantee Haksabanovic will do better than Mohamed Bangura.
Well, that's okay then.
I think I could do better than Mohamed Bangura, Daniel.
Obviously, we had a big Swedish contingency. Larsson's obviously the big name. Mjällby, who I loved at Celtic, I thought was really, really good. I thought, but that's missing somebody like Mjällby still in defence. He was really, really good. But like you just spoke to Miko Lustig, and obviously Carl Starfelt was now at Celtic, so he's joining a Swedish contingency at Celtic. Hopefully he's as good as some of the players, Daniel.
Yeah, it's hard to compare with the defenders, but I think he's
going to have to go something to beat Larsson.
yeah. And Mika Lustig, he was very popular among the supporters, I understand. But what I think is, of course, if Sead Haskabanovic stays such long time as Mika Lustig, he can be reach the same level of position among the supporters. But I think this is a different kind of signing than Mika Lustig was. Mika Lustig had a fantastic career in Celtic. He has done pretty much for the club, but I think when Celtic take Haksabanovic, I think they have in mind that they going to get him here for 1 or 2 years and then sell him for big money. That is hard to do with the right defender from Allsvenskan, if you should compare to Lustig. But if you can compare, they're pretty much the same signings in state of mentality. Karl Starfelt, fantastic team player. Mika Lustig, fantastic team player. If you look at Jos Højfeldt, who came from Allsvenskan also, he was a fantastic team player, but he hadn't that kind of success in Celtic maybe. But and Henrik Larsson also, of course. So it's the same mentality of the players that they bought. But they know what they're going to get also when you sign player from Swedish league or with Swedish nationality.
Daniel, have you managed to? Obviously, you've been doing journalism for quite a while now. So, have you managed to, with the Swedish connection you've had in the past, have you managed to go over and sample any of the Celtic Park atmosphere, as I've mentioned earlier, there, in terms of European games or even in the derby?
Yeah. I was in Celtic Park when they lost to Rangers 2012, I think.
I was going to say that must have been a while
2013. And I went with it was a special memory for me. I went with to the game. I went with a Celtic supporter who was a taxi driver. Then we went we passed and he said, "This is the Rangers area," he said, and it was like flags of Rangers, and then he throw down the window and spit on the that's a story. That's the story I used to tell when some friends or other supporters or readers or viewers ask me about the rivalry between Rangers and Celtic.
Yeah, that rivalry is, I mean, that's what you've just said there, Daniel. That's just the bare minimum of stuff that people would, that's just you passing a Rangers pub and a guy that's a Glasgow taxi driver. You wouldn't get, you could go anywhere in the world and you wouldn't get that kind of mentality anywhere else apart from Glasgow. And I can see Ryan's face lighting up there. It must bring a wee bit of sense of proudness.
I was like this. But also, I remember when I sat in the press stands, we were very close with the supporters, and I remember the table that I sat in was going up and down with when they jumped and stuff like that. So it was fantastic atmosphere.
Yeah, so obviously you know what Sead's kind of coming into, then you know that. So he is going to have to, if he's not already, then he is going to have to be able to deal with a certain level of pressure. I know as a young man at 23, I know 23-year-olds that would probably crumble in that scenario and situation. I played with guys that were really good footballers, but when you take them into an environment that demands pressure from them and demands a certain level of demand from them, they weren't able, you know, they just crumbled. They just sort of, and you were looking at them going, what the hell are you doing? Like, you were a good player. That's why I brought you here. You're totally. And then the managers kind of looked at you as if they say, who is this you brought? So I kind of really, I'm looking forward to it in a sense that obviously, you know, that I'm looking now that he's going to excite us when he gets going. Because he's got a lovely touch. You said yourself, he's very good at set pieces. He must pay a lot of attention to it at practices. And I think that's something we're missing just now. Ryan will probably be able to, you know, verify that. I think we're missing a dead ball specialist. We've had them in the past, like Nakamura. Henrik could hit a dead ball as well. Alan Thompson was very good. He played alongside Henrik. But we're kind of missing someone to do that from outside the box and just, you know, have a pot. I've actually heard Haskabanovic now being compared to a certain type of player like Lubo Moravcik. Like he's naturally two-footed. He can play on his left, he can play on his right, and he can shoot with both feet as well. I think that's going to be vital, Daniel. I don't know about you, but I think that's kind of something else we've been missing through the last few years as well, is someone like that. And am I right in saying that, you know, he is naturally gifted that way on his both feet?
Yeah, and that's why I think he has such a good success in Sweden. We're not used to that kind of players in Sweden, and that's why I think you can manage to have him on the both wings. And also the good thing with Sead is he can play in the central also, because if he can play as a 10, number 10. So I think that's a good. And regarding the supporters, I think the good thing, if you of course, it's a whole another pressure in Celtic among the supporters and among the stands, the rivalry between Rangers, nothing can compare to that. But in Sweden now, the big clubs in Stockholm, they have a very close relationship with the supporters, and that puts also very much pressure on the players, because if the supporters are angry with the own supporters are angry with the players in Celtic, you don't come to the training ground. It's closed. Here in Sweden, you can train, and you can have, if they're angry, they just walk into the training ground and tell them what they think. So that's good and that's bad, because bad. Some players can be afraid of them or stuff like that, but sometimes in most cases in Swedish football, it's good to have the dialogue with the supporters, but also that puts a pressure on the players also to play in big clubs in Sweden, when you know that supporters who you had a relationship can just walk into through the training ground and say it face to face what they think about you. So that's kind of a pressure, but of course maybe it's a good school to have that in Sweden, in the big clubs in Sweden, to go to Celtic, to take the next step in the pressure league, if you say so.
Yeah, Ryan, I think that's important, mate, because I think here we're a wee bit more proactive in terms of making sure that the fans can't just walk into our training ground, because I'm afraid we live in Glasgow, so there's a different mentality. Daniel's taxi friend would be one of many, I think, walking through the door and shouting the odds. And Glasgow's a totally different mindset.
I know.
We can't allow anything like that, because there would be a lunatic fringe every day turning up somewhere around the training ground just to get a wee bit in. And I mean, so all you need to do is go into social media. You'll know who the Glaswegians are. They're the ones that are crazy and putting up all sorts. But no, as I say, it's something we just can't allow in this country, I'm afraid, because not only have we got the two big Glasgow sides, but we then have two Edinburgh sides as well, who are similar to the two Glasgow sides, and having fans just being allowed to walk into the training ground, I'm not sure that would get down too well in this country.
I don't think so. Especially at Celtic and Rangers, I don't think that would happen. Especially if it happened during Celtic's 10-in-a-row season, that just wouldn't happen. That would be absolutely catastrophic. So
just for bringing that up again, mate, that was lovely.
So I don't think stuff like that would happen. And obviously the way Celtic's built, Lennoxtown's built, it's very hard for the fans to get in and even see the team. I think that's maybe one reason why the way Lennoxtown is built as well. So, but overall, Daniel, before we let you go, mate,
I just can tell you a story about the Swedish supporters. Yeah. It was Hammarby has signed in 2008. They signed a player called Sebastian Eguren. He was a national team player for Uruguay. And he became like a very popular player in Sweden for the Hammarby. The support, he was just there for like 2 or 3 years, but the supporters named their sons after him because he had a good success. And then 4 or 5 years after 2011, 2 or 3 years after 2010, he wanted to get playing time to go to the World Cup in South Africa. So he signed for AIK. And the first training he had with AIK was in Skytteholm. It was a very small pitch. And then they came like 20 or 15 or 20 supporters walked into the training ground, stopped all the play and started to yelling at him or they were very angry. And then AIK player, they started to make a ring to protect the Guren. And one AIK player said to the boys from Hammarby who walked in, "Hey guys, have you smoked weed or what?" So they were like, it was like kind of messy there, but then it was sorted out. So that's how it could be in the Swedish league.
Massive crowds turning up and asking you if you've smoked weed. You kind of don't know what to say. I would like a team of Glasgow kids turning up and asking you to go in and buy alcohol for them. They're all 12 and 13. They're pulling out knives nowadays and saying, "You better go in for me, I'm going to do this."
Aye, that's a good story, isn't it? Overall, Daniel, for what you go, mate, what would you say overall is would we expect from Haskabanovic?
Yeah, I think you can expect a lot. You can expect some should be a player who does the assists, who does the goals, good at set pieces. You will not see like a striker kind of goal, a statistic in goals, but some goals he will get. But also, I think he will get a good who can take the crosses in, who take corners, set pieces, and will do. I think over time, I think he will do great. He will be a massive influence on the attacking game and a player who gives it all for the team, working hard. So I think it will be a success, but I don't guarantee a success at maybe the first month or first weeks. But if you give him time, he will do very well at Celtic, I think.
I just hope he has a success, Daniel. Otherwise, you'll be getting another wee message from me on Twitter.
What?
I'm saying I just hope he has a success for us, otherwise JP will be messaging you on Twitter saying you gave us telling us you. No, I'm only kidding, I'm only joking. But thanks very much, mate, for your time and coming on.
Thank you.
Having a chat with us.
I really appreciate your time, Daniel. Obviously, as well, this interview will be on YouTube, all the platforms as well, not about later today as well. But Daniel, thanks for your time, mate, and take care.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.